Good morning, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I was passing by a few weeks ago, passing by some protesters here in my local area who I'm assuming are protesting the administration or whatever. I didn't bother to read the signs. I didn't think about what it is that they are protesting. I just assume that they are very frustrated with things that are going on and how it is that they have positioned themselves to deal with what it is that is now taking place within the economy. And as I listen to a lot of people speak about their frustrations and miscommunicated information that is being delivered to them, and they talk about how we have failed leadership. I take into consideration what it is that they have done with the information that they have received that then put them in a position in which that they feel there's failure now taking place, because essentially we are leading ourselves. Right. I mean, if you say, oh man, the failed leadership out there has caused all this pain and suffering to people. And I think to myself, well, they didn't cause pain and suffering to everybody. That has caused it to the people who have positioned themselves like you have. Right. And now we get very mad and frustrated and say, okay, well, it's this failed leadership that did this to me. But I'm thinking to myself, well, didn't you kind of lead yourself to the position that you're in today? I mean, if you said it was somebody else who led you here, well, then you kind of get what you deserve. I'm just saying, I mean, if you were led to this position, just think about what you are saying. You were led here. Did you not take any consideration for where it is that you were going? That maybe you should have led yourself and now take ownership of leading yourself? See, now when I think about it in this fashion, all of a sudden, I don't put the blame and suffering of my experiences that I have now had in my life on that of an external. I blame myself for everything that I have done, both the successes and failures. And when I do that, I don't look out there and say, hey, man, maybe there's something can change that will then change my life, because there is something out there that's going to change my life. That is my understanding of what it is that's taken place. That's it. So I look at the idea of what it is that's coming into the future and what it is that people behave like when it's the economy that I'm studying and people's expectation of what it is that's going to be taking place within the economy. I find that most people are guided into the experience that they have. Think about it right now. People ask the question, when is it that the Federal Reserve is going to be cutting interest rates? And since essentially I started this channel, I talk about a credible threat theory that says they're using their words more than their actions. And so you have two different beliefs now happening. When is the Fed going to cut? And the Fed has already cut by their communications. You can see it now taking place within the economy. You see mortgage rates coming down. You see interest rates in other parts of the economy now starting to experience that of an easing in financial conditions, because it's based on the words that they use. And this isn't me making this stuff up. This comes directly from the Fed itself. I mean, how many times have I talked about the speech that was given by Philip Jefferson, talking about the communication being the ultimate tool that these people use? The Federal Reserve, the Federal Open Market Committee, the people who actually vote on monetary policy. I mean, it's a great speech. Let me see if I can bring it up here for you guys real quick. Here. It's called Reading Between the Lines, Textual Analysis of Central Bank Communications. This was given February 21st of 2025. It's not even that old, right? In that speech, he says it, right? We use textual analysis, high-frequency asset price data, and high-frequency central bank communication data. This research shows that investors' reactions to specific sentences communicated by the central bank are quickly incorporated into asset prices. When you think about that, U.S. Treasury is an asset just like many other physical items that might be out there that are considered assets. U.S. Treasuries are assets and they have a price tag. They go up and down just like anything else out there that's considered an asset. And if their communications are quickly incorporated into asset prices, think about the communications that are taking place right now that are adjusting the asset prices. The Fed hasn't moved yet because they use their communications. Once you understand and internalize this, you're not listening to people like Donald Trump saying they're too late. And I'm like, they're not too late. They're lowering interest rates now. They've been lowering interest rates. Only the naive think that they're not lowering interest rates because they don't understand what it is that the monetary policy is truly trying to push out there into the economy. It's not the lowering of interest rates, it's the communication, the experience, or not the experience, but the expectations that create the experience. There we go. That is the Fed's, what it is that the Federal Reserve is looking for. He goes on to say this in this speech. Policymakers know that their communications are likely to affect the course of short-term interest rates. No kidding. They know it. They know the specific words and sentences to use, and they know that it is going to affect the course of short-term interest rates, other asset prices, and associated economic outlook, resulting in an easing or tightening of financial conditions. So that's where I'm saying that people who are looking at the idea that the Trump administration needs to replace all the Fed officials out there so that they will lower interest rates, and I'm thinking they're lowering interest rates right now. Does anybody see it? No? Well, I'm positioning myself on the idea that they're lowering interest rates because that's what's taking place within the economy based on the words and sentences that they are using. Who cares if they cut interest rates? They don't need to cut interest rates. They just need to put up enough communication out there of people believing that they're going to cut interest rates to actually have an impact on the economy. Who's leading you? Are you being led by the Trump administration who says, just wait right there, don't move. Fed, I'm going to fire every one of you and replace you, and then we'll cut interest rates. You guys just wait and see. Okay? You just wait and see. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to wait around for you to do that. They're cutting interest rates now by their communications. Don't be naive. Right? And it's sad to see it out there as people believe and hope and wish and dream for things that come from the administration are actually going to be successful. Just think about this, like bringing all this chip manufacturing back to the United States. I'm reading these articles on how this, what was it, in Ohio or something like that? I can't even remember where this factory is going in. It's like there's like this thing is stalling out. Like I would be surprised if they even complete it. They say they're going to complete it. I will believe that it probably will eventually come into fruition at some point. They've just gone too far into the project. But from what I understand, that this thing is like not really doing well, right? And the idea that they were going to just ramp this up and make it happen and bring it all back and it's going to be awesome for America. And I'm looking over it like struggling like I knew it would. Like I just knew it would. You can't bring manufacturing back to the United States in any kind of serious manner because our standard of living is too high. Once you recognize it for the reality of that, then you don't think about it happening in any kind of easy fashion. It's like people think, oh man, it's just easy. If they just did this, this, and this, then it would just happen. And I'm thinking, you're going to position yourself in a way that says, man, I'm going to wish and hope and dream that something like that happens. And I'm thinking, who's leading you now? Are you taking the consideration of what it is that's taking place right here, right now, through their communications, of what they say here, not only in the behind the scenes communication to each other, which they do through these speeches, but then also the delivery of the message out there to the mainstream media? It's just amazing to watch it happen. Once you see it in two fashions, once you see it in two communication styles and you recognize it for this, then you wonder, man, how is it that they are just so good at leading the people into believing in a particular way? It's just amazing. It's like, well, if they don't have any other form of communication about it, that's the only thing they're going to get. That's the only thing they're going to hear. And so as I come out and I try to share how it is that they are communicating a whole other style to their buddies, their other central bankers, the other globalists around the world, and I start trying to share that information with people, they start accusing me of being the globalist. And I'm thinking, holy moly, how is this even possible? Right? Here it is. I'm some average everyday dude who's trying to figure out what it is as an average everyday dude to live in this economy that has a constant separation between the rich and the poor. And I'm sharing with you what it is that I am finding out there. And then people say, man, don't listen to this guy. He's a total globalist. And I'm thinking, holy moly, I'm giving you the information to literally end the Federal Reserve. And then people say, don't listen to that guy. And I'm like, wow, man, everything that I share with people is to literally internalize the information for yourself, to not necessarily fall into the traps of what it is that's taking place out there with other people's power pendulum saying, hey, let's get on board and create this idea that this whole profound thing can change the whole experience of the entire world. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, good luck with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to understand how it is that the people are looking and understanding the information that they are receiving, because what it is that I am seeing out there and what it is that the masses are seeing seem to be two different things. And as I seem to find, as an average everyday dude, the ability to not only buy a house but pay my bills on time, which is the most amazing thing to me, because there was a time in my life I could never do it. People again look at me and say, man, this guy is crazy. Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, well, you're probably right, because nobody else is thinking the way I'm thinking, because I don't let anybody else lead my thoughts. I don't let anybody else lead my perceptions or my expectations. I don't let anybody else lead me. And as I think about what it is that other people are being led by, I'm thinking, yeah, that's the reason why nobody thinks like me. It's because most people are being led by some mainstream media narrative, by the society that they are think is important to them, by who knows? Who knows what's leading them? Rap music, horrible movies. I don't know, over intellectual thought, no longer giving you the ability to function normally in society. What's leading you? Right? Are you leading yourself, or is something else leading you? All right. This administration is a circus. It's not. Who cares? Right? Like, I mean, I understand here. You know what? This is actually a wonderful time to say this, right? Here's the thing. I am very proud and thankful for the people who are out there focused in, paying attention, and trying to do something with this government, with this administration, with the laws, with everything that's going out there, so that we can have a better functioning society. Thank you so much for taking the time, taking the energy, taking the thought, taking everything that you have going on with you to internalize this to the level that you have, so that you can try and create a better society for all of us to live in. I cannot thank you guys enough. And for doing that, I can only say that I am not wasting my time with it, because you have plenty of time to do it. I am going to figure out what it is that I need to do so that I can position myself and my family to have a better way of life. Thank you so much for taking the time to do the politic thing. I can never thank you enough for that. So I don't have to waste any time putting any thought or energy or anything else into trying to figure out how it is that this society is going to be better, how the political system is going to be better, how government's going to be better. That's your job, not mine. Right? My job is to understand what it is that you're going to do about it, so that I can position myself to make the most money at it. Okay? That's what I've come to the conclusion of. So thank you, everybody who's doing that. I'm not going to argue with you about what it is that politics need. Go for it, man. Make it happen, right? Make it happen. And I'm going to be over here watching to see what it is that you're going to do to make this thing so much better, and then I'm going to position myself for it. I'm glad to see you chat again, friend. MC? All right, I'm not sure. All right, Kirk, God, family, then country. Hail Satan. Interesting. Okay. Is that what that says? Yeah. Where's my glasses? All right. Hey, I know you love Bitcoin. Have you heard of CASPA? No. I'm sovereign individual. Well, good. Long John. What is that? Love Spanacha? Spanacha? What's Spanacha? All right. Again, comes down to personal economics and what you can do. Absolutely. Yeah, it's what it is that you are choosing to do with your experience, your skills, your position in life. I mean, people want so many like thrills in their life. Like they want this thrilling experience, and they go and they want it to be glamorous and show it off to everybody and all kinds of stuff. And they find that it is a waste of time and effort, and ends up leaving them in a whole miserable, painful experience as a result of it. Because if you chase pleasure, which is generally that thrill, then it's going to have an immediate, not necessarily an immediate, but definitely going to have an opposite reaction, counterbalancing. right? See, this is where a lot of people misunderstand how it is that universal powers work out there, is that if you are chasing excellence, you get rewarded. If you chase pleasure, you will be punished. And so chasing excellence is very difficult because a lot of people don't understand what that means because it's not necessarily thrilling. Right? Sometimes it's literally a bunch of hard, boring work for a long period of time that doesn't have any kind of real reward to it before it ever has any kind of benefit to you. Most people can't go through it. They're like, man, I need some me time. And they unwind all the effort that they tried to put into excellence. And that's the sad state that most people end up putting themselves in. And since they can't chase the excellence regularly, they decide to blame somebody else for their pain. All right, moving on. We need more likes, guys. Yeah, definitely get it up. We got 156 people watching. Let's break down some economics here. Let's talk about monetary policy or something. Don't listen to the bots. All right. Let's see here. I have I have an 840 FICO score. It's really boring. I checked mine earlier. It's 830. I can't believe it. You know, there was a time when I didn't even think I would ever have any kind of credit back again because of all the failure in my life that I had gone through. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what my credit score was. It was so low. I mean, I had foreclosure. I had credit card debts I wasn't paying. I had all kinds of bills with people. I had like all kinds. It was just miserable. I had so much, and then I got sent to collections for medical stuff. You know, it was just like, good lord, man. I mean, now they're just gonna straight up take it from me. Like, I don't even have any choice anymore about not paying it. They're gonna literally take it right out of my check if I don't give this dude $200 a month. And I'm like, man, this sucks, right? And that was the life that I lived. I mean, deep in debt, in collections, no real way of making any kind of money outside of just my day job that I was working. I mean, I was doing the little side hustle there with bingo, but again, that's like, you know, just a 1 day a week. And it's fun to do, but it's not going to like, you know, be any kind of life-changing event. And that was the life that I lived, and I was not doing well. Right? And so when I think about being in that sort of position, like 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, yeah, about 10 years ago, that's the way it was. I think about what it is that happened to my life over the course of the last decade, and I didn't plan any of it. You know, I didn't plan a single bit of it, not a thing, right? Nothing. I had no idea that I would be here today, 10 years ago. But I do remember saying to myself, get out of debt. That was like my only thought, get out of debt. It was almost like this tunnel vision, didn't care anything else, get out of debt, right? And so when I had this get out of debt, and I was like, why? And it was just like, because you can pay your bills on time. And then as I got closer to it, all of a sudden a different vision kicked in, and it was a vision of this house, right? A place out where I grew up with a big front yard, a place that I could raise chickens. That was like essentially like this house was essentially in my thought, right? Now, how it is that I got here, I never planned it. I didn't plan to start a YouTube channel. I just started one day. I never thought anybody would watch it, but I started incorporating building materials into the building industry and what it is that I was seeing within macroeconomics, and people really love that information, and it started getting a lot of attention, especially when lumber prices took off. I was in the right position at the right time with the right information, and everything just lined up perfectly for it, and YouTube did very well. Okay, let's go with that. I took the money, I paid off all my debts, I put it into a position in which that I could put a down payment on a house, even though I had a foreclosure in my past, which was very difficult. Like all these things that I did, I don't remember ever trying to chase any kind of pleasurable experiences. All I could think of was do this for your family, get this done. When that mindset was just 100% chasing the excellence, I didn't have any other idea. I didn't have fancy cars in mind. I didn't have, you know, luxurious trips and experiences coming from the money of YouTube. The only thing I could think of was like, man, get your family into a position in which that if you had never drank in your life, this is what it would look like. And I think I did it. Like, I didn't undo the experience. I undid the painful part of it, right? I mean, I have to suffer with the painful experience of my memory of being the drunk, but the experience for my family, I tried to erase that part of it out of their life so that they could have the house in the neighborhood, in the life, right? Their own rooms, like all this stuff. I didn't know this was possible, right? I didn't know it was possible at all. I mean, other people did it. I didn't know what I was going to do to get it, but I knew that if I was going to go and try and buy new cars, it wasn't going to work. That if I spent all the money on toys and traveling around and just blasting it on things that I thought would be fun, none of this would have taken place. Yeah. People might say that I'm lucky, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's luck. I don't think about it as luck. I think about it as just like, what did I did? It was just like I was really screwing up for a long time. And because I chased that pleasure for so long, I punished myself with the idea that no, you're not going to chase pleasure anymore. You're just going to chase excellence. And it created this abundance for me. Huh. Weird. People say it all the time, man. It's just like there's powers out there that are beyond you. I totally agree. I totally agree. Some people want to call it God, whatever, right? I'm not trying to dismiss it. It's God. That's cool. That's your belief in it, and I totally agree, right? There's universal powers out there that a lot of people will refer to as God. Okay. Yeah. I wish I had $10. I got $10. I'm going to go take a look and see who sent it to me. All right, Bob, thank you so much for that $10. One of my glasses so I can read the comment. All right. Thank you, Bob. What are your thoughts on the future of real estate, considering that we are on the cusp of a certain demographic shift? Less people and a boomer die off. I feel like it makes more sense to rent. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about this whole boomer die off thing, and I guess a lot of people might be like looking at, like, say, maybe the conditions of Japan or something like that, with this idea that there's all of a sudden there's this huge amount of real estate out there that doesn't have anybody to buy into it, and that there's all these empty dwellings because all this like elder population has died off and nobody's going to want their homes anymore or something of that nature. Now, I I don't want to dismiss that as saying, no, I don't think that's going to take place, but I don't think that's going to take place. Really, what I think is going to end up happening is as those homes come up for sale, that they are going to be taken off the market and they're going to be rented out just like what you were saying. And ultimately, this nation is going to be split into property owners and renters because that's the direction in which that new money flowing into the economy is going to go. So if you have ever increasing amounts of new money that is pouring into the system, which I assume is going to take place considering that the dollar is the world reserve currency and there will be an ever increasing amount of demand for dollars, in order to pay off all the dollar denominated debt, the Federal Reserve will have no other choice but to create that money. And by creating that money, you will have a separation between the rich and the poor. And there's no better obvious evidence of that than through property ownership. And so as we look through that lens, that the economy is not failing completely, right? Does it fail for some people? Absolutely. It fails for 80% of the people. We all look around and say, hey man, 80% of the people are suffering pain. Obviously that's the economy. And then we think, oh, wait a minute. There's 20% of the people who are actually killing it right now, and they're doing quite well, and they're doing the majority of the consuming. So we've kind of been separated, and we don't even realize it yet because we think that we're important, right? We're not. I mean, I know a lot of people want them to be important. That's fine. I mean, you can think of yourself as important because you are important yourself, but you're only important to yourself. Nobody else thinks you're important, right? Maybe your loved ones, friends, and family, they might think you're important. Nobody else cares, right? Nobody else cares. You can see it because if you just go out there onto the street right now, there's plenty of people out there who need help and there's no volunteers for it. The very few volunteers who are out there, they genuinely want to be there. That's very few and far between. There's nobody coming, right? And so understanding this, is the ultimate way of dealing with the problems that you now face, is because it's always internal. Everything is always internal. It's how you take the information and deal with it. Let's talk about economics. What was the question again? I forgot. Oh, real estate. So yeah, so back to the real estate question, and it was just like that's the problem that I think we face. If we were no longer to be the world reserve currency, and that idea that the BRICS nation is somehow going to take over, which is kind of lunacy, really, because none of those BRICS nations want to be an issuer of the world reserve currency. What you need in order to be a world reserve currency is deficit trade. And that's Triffin's dilemma. It's Triffin's paradox. You can't, it's like the whole idea that the BRICS nations want to be a debtor consumer nation is not in their cards. They want to be producer savers, which immediately puts them out of the running for a reserve currency, because in order to be a reserve currency, you have to be the producer, or you have to be a consumer debtor. And that means you import stuff and export your money so that the rest of the world can use it. And that's Triffin's dilemma, Triffin's paradox. That's the reason why the BRICS nations are never going to take over. And unless there is a complete collapse of the entire financial American dollar system, which very well could take place, but unless that does, there's going to be ever increasing amounts of separation between the rich and the poor due to the new money issuance, and there's going to be no better sign of that through property ownership. Like me personally, I don't even want to be a landlord. I've been in this game for 30 years selling building supplies. Wow, 30 years. Been in this game for 30 years selling building supplies, and I have seen nightmare after nightmare after nightmare coming from landlords. All right? Like, it's cool when landlords, like lumberjack landlords, show some of the issues that he has faced within his, sometimes they're pretty critical issues as well. But I've seen him like a lot, right? And although I would understand from everything that I have experienced that property ownership, especially real estate and rental properties and stuff like that, has definitely been the path to the wealth that everybody I know who is wealthy has achieved. Like, that's how they do it. They do it through real estate. So me personally, like, if I had an abundance of money and I had like the idea that I wanted to get into property, what I would most likely do is travel around to areas I see that are going to be growing in population, growing and expanding, have opportunities in good areas like low crime, and then I would buy vacant land that experience is going to encroach in on, and then I would sell the property off later, because if it's undeveloped property, you don't have to really worry about it too much. I mean, how much damage can they really do to undeveloped property? And really, like, taxes on undeveloped property are pretty low, and the opportunity to be able to sell that into the future is, quite extreme. Or do something with it. You can even build houses later or something like that. And so for me, like, buying land, I think for me would be more exciting than buying houses, because houses are stupid expensive, right? And like, I don't I don't want to deal with somebody who's going to trash the house, because I don't even really like working on my own house. Like, I mean, I don't mind, but I don't find like a great lot of pleasure and awesomeness of, going out there and rolling out paint, doing drywall and doing all the other stuff. I mean, people, I see them, man, working on their houses and they're whistling the entire time, thinking it's just the most wonderful experience in the world. And I'm like, oh, God. And do it for a living for 15, 20 years and see how fun that is. And it is just like, it's like the mechanic who drives a crappy car, man. They don't like working on their car because that's all they do. But some people, they mechanics, and they love it, and they just do it, and they have 15 cars. And like my buddy Brian, man, he's an old man. He has 15 cars. I don't even know how many cars he has, and he collects them all, and he tinkers with them, and he all makes them all back to perfect, like to the point that they can't even be any more perfect than they are, because he's done made it perfect, right? Put it all back together. He loves restoring that kind of stuff. It's his hobby. It's his passion. It's his fun, right? I mean, that's his thing. Uh, All-nighter love working on houses, right? All-nighter loves working on houses. Yeah, when we went to Florida for the Rebel Capitalist, and we stayed with my sister for a couple of nights. I mean, my sister immediately put all nighter to work. Hey, that fixture, put that up. The all guys that deal was just like right on and do it all. The only thing I did is I put the sink drain in. I did that part. And, but all night was on it. He hung mirrors, hung fixtures, did all kinds of stuff for my sister. Just like, yeah, made her super happy. All right. I love the stock market because I don't need a garage. Yeah. I'm an American and I'm stupid. Did you write that so that I would say it? I've seen people do that. Like they'll write something and then later I'll find a clip of it, and I'm like, oh man, they got that out of context. That's fun. It was like clever. That's really clever. All right. At the end of the day, all leadership tends to fail because humans become indifferent. The point of democracy is to be self-governing. With freedom comes responsibility. Well, and absolutely it does. Like, people want to hold the administration responsible, right? So they go out there and they protest, right? They put their sign up in the air and they're like, "Hey, I'm doing something." Right? And in their heart, they're trying, right? That's their attempt at trying. They're trying to get out there and bring some awareness, bring some attention to their cause. Now, I don't read any of the signs because they all say the same thing: down with the administration, no king, blah blah blah, whatever, and they have to say about it, and then it's all essentially the same. It's just a bunch of noise. So I think to myself, I get it that you want to do something and you don't know what to do. And so the idea of gathering and putting a sign in the air is the idea of doing something, because it's better to do something than nothing. And by doing something, you feel like you're being active, an activist, right? So if you're an activist, by getting out on the street and holding a sign up in the air that nobody reads, what is it that you're really doing out there? I mean, are you doing anything that's actively changing anything about anything out there? Like, I think to myself, you're no activist. I'm an activist, right? That's the difference inside of it. I'm actually trying to actively do something that is going to be somewhat changing to the people's understanding of what it is that's happening out there, or at least give them some sort of information that they can incorporate into the things that they have already learned so that they can be making the best decisions for themselves. I'm actively doing that. I'm not holding a sign up in the air and say, hey, read this sign, right? Nobody would read that sign. That's not activism. That's just putting it in your head that you're doing something. But that's not doing anything. I mean, it might bring some awareness to the cause, which I think is probably pretty noble in that sense. Hey, at least we got to bring some sort of awareness to this particular thing. But ultimately, you're never going to persuade anybody ever by calling somebody else an idiot. This stupid administration, they screwed up, they're failures. Anybody who did, I didn't vote for the idiot, all these, that's not persuasion. That is not going to persuade anybody into anything, believing anything that is going to be in line with what it is you're thinking. In fact, by doing that, you actually solidify their belief system, which might be opposite of yours, and you will never get through to them. So actually, congratulations, you are creating more separation, right? Because of the sign that you hold. I didn't vote for the idiot. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back up here. Activism starts at home. Absolutely, it does, Kirk. I think you're absolutely right. It does. It has to start with you. The moment that you put it onto an external saying, man, everybody needs to rally and do something about it, and I'm like, or what is it you're going to rally and deal with, right? Because I've seen people rally and they have no idea why they're doing it. See, here's the thing. What I find pretty interesting is that living your life in a way, like you live the life that you want to see out there. And when I think about that, when I conduct myself in a constitutional manner because I understand what my constitutional rights are and how to behave in a way that doesn't have those constitutional rights infringed upon by having authority come and say, hey, I want to talk to you. Right? By conducting myself in this way, I feel that I have a constitutional right. everywhere I go because I know how to handle that. Most people don't know that. They cross the street when the sign says don't walk. And I'm thinking, you're going to be investigated. You're going to be questioned. You're going to be looked at. You're going to be identified. You're going to have to then bow down to whatever authority that's coming out there because you stepped over their statutes, their ordinances. You didn't conduct yourself appropriately. When I think about how it is that I conduct myself, there's no way that authority comes and talks to me because I'm the highest authority. When I think about it like that and I feel that way, how else do I see the world? That's my world. Other people say, oh, no, you don't have that. Think about all these things that happen. And I'm like, yeah, to you, right? That's happening to you and your belief system and everything that you have going on. Kind of ran off there. But activism, yeah, it starts at home. It starts with your belief system. And if you were to conduct yourself, if everybody was to conduct themselves in a way that, what I guess I'm saying, if you took in your personal belief system and said, man, I'm going to live my life this way and I'm not going to persuade anybody else to change the way that they are conducting themselves because whatever it is that they're doing is their business and this is my business and they don't interfere with me and I'm not going to interfere with them. And we can all say, hey, man, you can have your opinion and we can share in this world of trade. Right? How difficult of a mindset is that really to be in? Is it really that difficult? Right? I mind my business. You mind your business. We can do trade together. Right? What's the problem here? But then all of a sudden you say, oh, no, man, he's too good at what he does. Or that group of people over there have a wrong mindset and they're, whatever. We can't give them any kind of benefit. Yeah. And so I think, yeah, and so here comes the problems, right? The problems that we all face, everything that's going to be issues and problems, and it's all because of this external out there. And I just look at it and say, okay, how do I position myself to deal with that? Because I don't have to deal with authority coming and infringing on my rights. I can't imagine them doing that because I don't conduct myself in a way that would have that happen, right? Now, I do conduct myself in a way that says, man, you got massive opportunities out there. Are you going to take advantage of it every single minute of the day? Are you going to go out there and say, okay, what is it that I can do in order to cut back on my expenses or increase my cash flow or just increase my skills in general, my knowledge of something, better my place, better my experience? For me, like even working on the house, like I need to pressure wash the house at some point and paint it, right? I need to do that. I need to think about that, get excited about it, have fun doing it, and make it happen. Right? And now understanding that the benefit that I get from that and the motivation comes from actually doing it, this is the difficult part, right? See, it's easy for me to go out there and do all kinds of stuff to try and do internet content or go out there and try and like do something that's like experience, like going out and doing the play or acting. For me, that's like super like I like motivated to do that. Like I am in it, man. I want it. All right, going out there and rolling paint. Oh, are you kidding me? Mowing the lawn again. I have to do it again because look at it. It grows so fast. Isn't that weird? Everybody has their motivations. You got to figure it out. I'm just saying that just because we all have our experiences in it, benefits, bro. I'm crying for heaven's sake. Nothing good happens to me. Yeah. Well, what is it you're doing, man? Do you volunteer? Like, I can't imagine nothing good happening to you if you were volunteering some time. Right? The experience of volunteering is good. Right? If you look at it, if you give it meaning that it's bad, then yeah, okay. But if you volunteer some time and you go and do something, you're going to find that the actual experience within it is pretty good. And if you don't see the benefit of feeling good from your experience that you have just done, then you're probably not going to feel good about any experience that you get, right? Whether it's good or bad. So I would start with volunteer. Volunteer to do something somewhere. You don't have to go join and just go pick up litter. Go for a walk, pick up litter, go like walk a path. Like we got the river walk, which is actually pretty clean lately. But we got the river walk. We like to go down, walk the river walk, and when we do, we pick up the little pieces of litter that we see along the way. Right? The experience of being out there and enjoying the outdoors in itself is going to make you feel good. And then turn around and look and see what you have done, the accomplishment. You had a bunch of garbage laying on the ground. You turn around, you look, you see all the garbage is picked up. That makes you feel good again, right? So not only did you get the exercise, you got to be outside, you got to pick up litter. This is the good feelings that you get. Now, when you have that sort of energy, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be a benefit. I guarantee you. Like, just put that sort of thought and energy into everything you're doing. Maybe it just needs to be starting with picking up litter. If you don't, like, maybe you need a little bit more personal. Go work out, man. Do enough sit-ups and push-ups and curls and stuff so that you have an upper body physique that when you take your shirt off and you flex your muscles, everybody go like, damn, dude, what have you been doing? Right? Tell me you will not feel good and get the benefit from it. Tell me there's no benefits in this world, man. Tell me there's none when you have those two things that cost you literally nothing but your time. So your time is your benefit and it's so limited. You only have a certain amount of time left on this planet to do something, man. Why don't you go and get yourself not a six-pack of beer, but a six-pack abs? I don't have a six-pack abs. I don't do push-ups. My shoulder hurts too much, and I can't stand doing sit-ups. It makes my stomach hurt too much. But I do work at a lumber yard, and the other day I packed so much lumber that my stomach actually hurts like I had did 100 sit-ups, right? Picking it up, moving these beams and putting it on this rack and doing that for whatever half an hour it took to get it done. Right? I did a workout. Like, I don't necessarily need to work out, and I'm not making up excuses for it, but I mean, I eat whatever I want, and I am like in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm 50 years old, 49. Right? And so it's like for some people, like I just think about that. That's the benefit of working at a lumber yard. Right? I got an abundance of working at a lumber yard. I don't have to work out. Right? I mean, I probably should and build up my endurance, but you know what I'm saying. Look at the benefit from everything that is out there, because everything is a benefit, no matter how you look at it. Even the punishable experiences that you have faced in your life are always a benefit. Think about the good that came from it, the learning lesson that came from that painful experience that you got. Like that chick that broke up with you because you couldn't see the signs, the warning signs that she was about ready to leave anyway, and you were just so desperate to hold on to it, and then you got punished from it, and then you realize, man, maybe I shouldn't have been that desperate for that attention from her, and I wouldn't have had that experience. Right? I mean, you see it every day out there, how it is that happens. Until you get that experience a few times, you're not going to know how it is that you're supposed to feel and think about what it is that a relationship's supposed to be like. It's weird as hell. Like, I mean, being in a relationship with my wife for the last 30 years I mean, I got a different view on what it is that people are experiencing, because it doesn't seem that people truly understand what it is that really means anymore. I mean, you think about the divorce rate, you think about the connections that people have nowadays, or the lack thereof. It's quite sad, to see it. What was that super chat? All right. From A to Grub, thank you for the $10. A $2,000. In 2000, it took, come on, my glasses. In 2000, it took $80,000 to build a $250,000 quality home. In 2025, it takes $150,000 to build a $500,000 cardboard home that is falling apart. Homes will start to devalue because of its cheap material. I'm thanking very, very much for the $10, but I'm going to disagree with that. That's the quality of the builder that you're using and the materials that you're choosing to use. That is not the case. If you buy quality building materials and you have a quality builder, there is absolutely no reason to believe that these houses are going to fall apart. Now, the unfortunate consequence that most people are now facing is that they buy houses in areas where they are slammed together so fast that the builders don't take care in what it is that they are putting together, and they could be using the cheapest materials, which could fall apart over time if that is the case. But just because it's being built nowadays doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be done with cheap materials or cheap labor, right? I mean, granted, that is happening, and I'm not going to deny that, but as somebody who is in the game itself, I find that very disingenuous. Not necessarily lies or misconceptions or misbelief, because it does take place. It's not exactly accurate to the reality that you can build absolutely quality homes today that are not made like cardboard, or going to fall apart. So, they made crappy homes back in the day. Like the house that I grew up in, you would not believe how a chintzy of a house that, like, you could, like, if you got enough people in there, and like you could actually shake the whole house. Right? It was on a post and beam foundation, so you could like rock the entire house. And it was built like 100 years ago or something. It was I thought about that. I'm like, man, if we ever had a major earthquake, this thing might actually go down. Douglas, $5. Simon, how do you see them handling employment and inflation separately? Well, here's the thing. Like, what is unemployment right now? Like, I hadn't looked it up here in the last few days. So, you can type in unemployment. Let me see if I remember how to spell it. And then type in the word FRED right after. It'll give you a chart of the unemployment rate that the Federal Reserve is looking at. Like, I understand that people are like, dude, that's not real numbers. Hey, I totally get it. Excuse me. If we want to understand monetary policy, what the Federal Reserve is going to do, and how they're going to handle inflation separately from unemployment, I just look at this chart of unemployment. Now, let me see if I can I maximize this thing? Full screen, there we go. Okay. Still not good. There we go. Oh, come on. Okay, well, this is close enough. So on this chart, it's going to be backwards because YouTube, for whatever reason, the app, if I'm looking at the screen and it's like, the back-facing camera, so I can actually read the comments, it reverses the image. So I just can't fix it. It's just the way it is. But here is a chart. So obviously it's backwards, but you can see way down here, right? This is where unemployment is today. Now look at it comparatively to history, man. Like throughout history, unemployment has been significantly higher than it is today. I mean, there was a couple of times it was lower, but those were like very unique situations. And for the majority of time, it has always been so much higher. I mean, think about it, like all through here. It was dramatically higher. I mean, that was through how many, like 1, 2, 3, 4 recessions. Unemployment was higher from the late 70s all the way through the 90s. Unemployment was dramatically higher than it is today for all those years, right? And so when I think, okay, is the Federal Reserve really that concerned about unemployment being high? I mean, think of that chart, man. Like, I mean, there's no spike happening there. There's a little tiny rise. It's just a little rise that's happening, right? Now, oops. God, having a hard time holding on to this thing. It wants to, hold on. Let me just take this thing off of here. There we go. Okay, there we go. That'll make it easier. So you can see, let me turn it this way a little wider. Okay, so you can see that. Now, something interesting about this chart. Now, again, it's backwards for you guys. So look at it, like this is the newest date right over here on this side. Oh, God, Lord. All right. Now, something very interesting is that unemployment rises right into a recession. Every single time. There has literally never been a time that unemployment begins to rise. Like you see it spike and then it drops. When it hits the bottom and begins to rise, look at the chart. Every single time that it begins to rise, it runs into a recession. Like there has never been a time that it didn't do it, that I can find. There were times there were recessions. No, every single time. except for this time. This is the only time it hasn't happened. Every single recession has unemployment rising right before it takes place, except this time. This is the only one. Now, how many times have I said it? Recessionless recession. That we would see you would see companies failing, right? And those failing companies would have mass layoffs, and those layoff people would go to work at the service industry, and unemployment wouldn't rise significantly, and we wouldn't see a recession, right? So here it is. It's not rising significantly. It's still historically low, like comparatively to history. We didn't go into a recession like we should have, like comparatively, like every single time in history. Things like the Somme rule failed. Nobody can explain it quite accurately except for the uneducated economist who predicted it long ago, right? The recessionless recession. I don't know how many times I said it. This is one of the reasons why it is that I'm like one of the most accurate people out here on YouTube, is because I'm literally not doing anything with the information other than just delivering it. Like, I'm not trying to necessarily sell it. I sell a membership, a $1 a month membership. Am I trying to make money at that? Like, I mean, how many people would I have to get at $1 a month in order to, like, make any kind of significant money? I laugh at the idea that I'm trying to make money by doing membership, right? I just wanted to have a product that I could sell so that I would feel that I could give the people something unique. And so when I break down those speeches, it's in a way that the average everyday person can have a conversation. Those conversations in those member-only live streams are way different than what you're getting here, right? These are good. Like, don't get me wrong. The Uneducated Economist live streams are a killer. The comment section, the ones that I can actually read as I'm doing this. But when you get over to the members only, it's a whole nother experience. It's definitely a higher level. It's much more engaging. The people there are like, they know each other. It's much different in the conversation. And you get access to all that stuff, all those member-only live streams we did. So handling unemployment going into the future, we're not going to see it. I got to go back to the question. Thank you. So we're not going to see them handling the rise in unemployment like we once had experienced or thought that they would, right? So now I'm looking at it with historically low unemployment taking place right now. When they say, oh, we got to support the labor market, I'm thinking, well, sure, if there was a problem, right? Like, they don't want this to become a problem. Sure, it's not a problem. I mean, it didn't cause a recession. We don't have a slowdown in consuming. Those consumers who are out there are still consuming, because it's really most of the people out there who are in the top 20%. Everybody else who is like really suffering, if they were unemployed or they're down in the bottom 80%, they really don't matter to the economy anyway. So the Federal Reserve is not necessarily concerned with this unemployment rising, because it's not rising significantly. It's still historically low. And as they blame the idea that we got to support the labor market in order to keep from the economy falling apart, I think to myself, well, maybe the unemployment for the top 20%, but not the bottom, right? You don't really care about those people. Remember Janet Yellen saying that she doesn't think we'll ever find another financial crisis in our lifetime again? And see, now I always kind of internalized that when I first heard it as we'll never see another recession again, but that's not what she said. She said we won't see a financial crisis. And so I thought to myself, what did that really mean? Right? See, we should have had a financial crisis when it came to Silicon Valley Bank. Right? That was a financial crisis that should have created a contagion effect that would have rippled across the entire, globe essentially. But they figured out a way to stop that from happening with the bank term funding program. I'm thinking, if you manufacture a crisis that you could control, what is the tariff really doing? See, I'm reading articles about how Wall Street is already coming up with an idea of, like, it's so good. It's like, those Like, it's my money and I want it now. Remember those commercials? I don't know. I don't watch TV anymore, but I just remember these commercials from back in the day. It's my money and I want it now. So you got a settlement, but you don't have your money, but you got, it's coming to you. So this company will give you like pennies on the dollar and then they'll take your settlement from you, but you can get your money right now. So Wall Street's doing something like that with tariffs, right? So the idea that all these CEOs and everybody, or all these smart CEOs out there who are trying to come up with this idea of cashing in on the refunding of tariff money. So what they are saying is like, hey, we want to buy the rights to your tariff refund for pennies on the dollar. Get your money, you need it now. Here, you get that, and we'll get the tariff refund when it comes in. Right? And they're already coming up with this scheme, with this idea for it. And I think to myself, man, that is so like off the charts, right? It was just like, man, I never even thought about that one, as being something that would be a way of making money out there that Wall Street would come up with. But now I have to reel that back again. I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute, this is really like coming about. Like, people are actually considering the tariffs not being real. And I'm thinking, wow, man, all those people who had to deal with price increases due to tariffs paid for that. Then the tariffs are found to be illegal. A refund goes back to the corporate. Okay, so the corporation charged extra for the tariff, so they got the money, and then they get reimbursed for it. Wow. I'm thinking, dude, that is one clever way of really channeling some money to these corporations. I mean, how can you have a recession when something like that takes place? Right? I mean, if you need to bail out the corporations, just end the tariffs, refund the money. And I mean, they already charged the people for it. They got their money. I mean, the retail is essentially having to pay for it. And then on top of it, you get refunded. Yay. Right? Like, why would you need to bail out the corporations? You just did. You just don't just end the tariff. Right? And money will flow right back to them and give it back to them. Well, they're a bailout, and it was just like, because you already charged the customer for it. So anyway, here's the bailout money, Not necessarily a bailout, right? Kind of like the same. It's almost the same sort of concept in a different way of channeling money to the corporations when they use the special purpose vehicles during the pandemic, right? And they created the corporate debt lending facility. And with the corporate debt lending facility, they were saying, hey, we're going to buy all this corporate debt and save the fallen angels. And all this money started front running the Federal Reserve, buying into this corporate debt. And all these corporations were able to fund themselves. All right. And before the facility was even up and running, like, they didn't even have to buy any corporate debt. Everybody in the market was out there front running the Federal Reserve and bought into this corporate debt. So all these corporations ended up with all this money. Well, could something like that be set up right now with these tariffs? Right? The idea of refunding the tariffs is essentially a bailout if the corporations have already charged for the tariff. Huh? And when I talk about, like, I'm talking all corporations globally, right? Because it's not just the United States that I'm talking about here. Right? This is talking about everybody globally. Because the idea that the United States is trying to bring money back is absolutely incorrect. There is nothing could be further from the truth. The United States is needing, by any stretch of the imagination, to think differently is just like inaccurate. The United States needs to get dollars out of the United States. Right? That's what the government needs to do. And I know that seems very illogical to a lot of people out there, but once you understand that the dollar denominated debt that exists outside of this country causes the dollar to strengthen, that you need to weaken the currency to keep the dollar from strengthening. And by keeping the dollar from strengthening, you can actually keep the exports flowing out of your nation. See, if the dollar strengthens, then people wouldn't buy our stuff. If you're trying to increase the ability for other people to buy your stuff, you have to weaken your currency. How do you weaken your currency if you're bringing it all back and the demand for it is increasing? It doesn't work like that. Most people can't see it because they just think about it personally. They think about, no, I want all the money I can get. I want it in. I want the money, right? But they don't think about the strength of the money itself when they are thinking, like, the United States is saying is like, man, if this thing strengthens too much, then my exports are screwed, right? And that's a hard thing for people to internalize. They're like, oh no, we'll just make it all for ourselves. And it's like our luxurious experience requires that production of the rest of the world. I mean, if we didn't want to have a luxurious experience, sure, we could make it all for ourselves. Why couldn't we? All right, Poe Collector. Yeah, I realized that recently. It made sense to me because you always hear about shareholder value. Do you think a skilled blue collar worker job will be way better than accountant? Way better? No. I mean, no, not if it's an hourly wage job. It isn't going to matter if you're an accountant or if you're a blue collar, average everyday worker swinging a hammer or something like that. It ain't going to make any difference. Those jobs aren't going to work anymore. You have to have something far beyond that. You have to have that and a side hustle and a business and everybody in the family working and all that other stuff. It's not going to, like, don't get me wrong, you're there's going to be a demand for the labor, but the the compensation for it isn't going to be enough, right? And that's because of the divide that's taken place. When you have so much inequality caused by new money issuance, new dollars coming into the system, then eventually you're just going to get to a point where the labor, it doesn't matter anymore. Like how like it isn't going to matter, like even making $50 an hour, $150 an hour, it's not going to make any difference at that point, because there's just simply, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but like if you just follow like how the Cantillon effect is separated, right? So if you have a group of people who have no new money, right? They're all poor, they're all sitting there with essentially no money in their pocket. And then you inject some money into that and they start flowing between each other. One of them is going to figure out how to collect more than the others, right? I mean, this is going to be that way. One of them is going to figure out a better skill, a better product, something out there that's going to take place that's going to say, hey, man, I'm going to get more than everybody else. When they get that, right, that's the separation that happens. Okay, now they could be like, oh, okay, I did it. I'm sorry. Here you go. You can have all the money back, right? They could. They don't, right? They're going to be like, all right, cool. I figured this thing out and I am going to better my life with this. Right? Now, when they start to better their life with it, this is where the real problem starts to take place. Because if you think about it on a whole economy, like an entire country, when those people start to increase their standard of living, what they are doing is increasing consumption. And by increasing the consumption, what you are doing is creating the supply-demand imbalances. And it's easy to say, oh, we'll just create more. Well, that's cool, right? But then you also have foreign competition out there. So as the increasing of consumption starts to create the supply-demand imbalances, you will find prices start to increase. And as people say, hey, man, more prices, increases, I can produce more, and I will take advantage of those high prices, but so will the foreign competition who says, hey, I don't even need you to pay those high prices. I can take a slightly less price for that. But these other people over here, they can't take a slightly less price for it because they got a standard of living that requires this elevated price. But these other people over here, these foreigners, they don't have that higher standard of living. So they're going to import that product in, and you're going to miss out on the opportunity. And here comes the separation, no matter how hard you work. Okay? And that's the unfortunate part of it. Being a blue collar worker, being an accountant, white collar worker, I think that's all your personal choice. But the better is not really in the cards, right? I don't think. I mean, better. I don't know. I mean, AI is going to take over both of them. So what difference does it make, right? I just think you got to understand, the position that you're taking in life. Like I look at my own job, right? In the years that I've worked sales, doing building supplies, it is amazing the transfer that is now happening. I know that it is only a matter of time before my job will be phased out, right? Like you will not need a salesman anymore. Not a physical one in the store anymore. Like it's there just because it's still an antiquated process in which that people want to come in and they want to talk to somebody about particular products because that's the experience they're used to. But ultimately, I can now go to my computer and buy just about every single building material I need without ever making a phone call, without ever doing anything else other than firing up a portal, which is, a computer program that is specific to a particular product that I want to get. So say for metal roofing, like the pole barn metal or 3 foot wide metal, standing seam metal, a lot of people know what I'm talking about. I can just go to a portal, click the images of the items that I want, the colors, the quantities, the lengths, and all that other stuff. It's the same thing that the customer could be doing. Like I got to take the information from the customer. The customer could be delivering that information directly into the computer themselves. I'm like, what am I doing there? Like other than maybe clarifying some characteristics about the product that they don't want to go and research for themselves. I'm not sure what it is that I'm really doing, right? Other than just playing a middleman for now. So eventually it's going to get to a point where I just won't even be there anymore because I don't need to be there. Like even now, I don't need to be there. This is with metal. This is with doors. This is with windows. This is with hardware. This is with everything. Like it's all getting that way. Yeah. So I'm witnessing it taking place right now. I don't have to wait for AI to do it. There's computer programs out there that are phasing my job out as I see it, right? As I see it taking place right now. Yeah. And understanding like sales is like that's anything that I mean, it doesn't matter where I'm at, right? It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If there's a product to sell and somebody wants to hear a sales pitch on it, here I am. And so, I just have to figure out where it is that I can do that. All right, jobs being phased out, passive income to help. Where's a good place to get started? For what? I'm already looking into Fidelity. Instead of buying physical gold, you can buy a gold ETF, which has the same price increases and decreases without the premiums and the coin stores charge. Yeah, but then you don't get the insurance policy that is really unique to gold and silver, which is the real reason why you would want to buy it. So I understand like if somebody wants to make money off of the price move, maybe get into the ETFs or even better yet, get into the miners because the miners generally have a bigger move than the actual physical ETFs do. So I mean, really, if you want to take advantage of the price move, get into the miners, do the research on it, but that's, not investment advice. It's just a suggestion, it's just like, cause I don't know. I don't invest in the miners at all. Actually, that's not true. I do have a small position in some miners, but it's very small. It's nothing other than just having a position just to have some skin in the game. Um, but the real feature of gold and silver and precious metals is the insurance policy outside of the third party claim. The ETF is a third party claim. So it's literally like the anti-insurance policy by doing that. To me, like that's not the position that I do have some, again, just to have some skin in the game, but it's a very small position. And I take on the physical as an insurance policy with no expectations of it doing well or anything else like that, but just really how many ounces do I have and how long can I keep stacking them into the future? Like how many more can I get going into the future? Those are my concerns. What it does for me is that in case of a position in which that I have no other choice, I have a box that I can open up and buy a car. Done a couple of times, 3 times now, that I've bought in vehicles with silver. It's, something that I can use to give me the ability to say, yes, I can invest in this particular direction because if it fails, hey, I got something outside of that, right? This is the thing that it gives me that is very unique to having it in a physical form, right? But if you don't have that in a physical form, it doesn't work like that. Uneducated Economist, how many more years do you think Western fiat will last? How many more years? It'll last forever because what they're going to eventually do is take it into a tokenized currency, either through stable coins or some sort of central bank digital currency on the external, when it comes to like central bank digital currencies from other nations that the Federal Reserve can then use. Like if this comes down to a position in which that there's no more cash in the system, then to me, I just don't see how it is that it's going to go anywhere, considering once it's cashless and tokenized, you can go into negative interest rates. That's something that nobody has ever experienced on any kind of grand, like, centrally planned future expectations to continuously go in that direction, and how it is that the system would handle such a thing. But ultimately, negative interest rates can come when you tokenize and cashless society, the financial systems that are out there. I have no idea how far that can go and how long that could last. Right? I don't expect the dollar to fail at all. Like, I have no belief of that. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think the Federal Reserve is going to be in a panic situation and try to figure out how it is that they are going to be printing at a pace that is fast enough in order to cover the dollar denominated debt that exists out there, to keep the dollar from strengthening too much. That's the problem, right? And it's weird because most people don't see it. Hey, I got $4.99 and then retracted. What happened? Well, thank you anyway for the $4.99, whoever sent it. If I still get it, I don't know, maybe a retracted means that I don't get it. All right, so where do we go to buy stocks? Now I have to invest. You have to look at what it is that you know about your current experiences and skills. When you recognize things in your own life that you know are either weak or strong, right, based on your own understanding of what it is that you see in a personal experience, that's what you move towards, right? Some people know how to look in the computer at companies and their charts and their stock value and all these other little graphs and other things to say, I want to buy this stock. And I think to myself, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. How do you do that? Right? How did you figure out how to do all that stuff? That's pretty cool. People have sat around, figured out how to do moving averages and, looking at P ratios and all kinds of stuff to come up with the perfect plan to buy the perfect stock. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Right? What I do is I go to work every day and I think about the phone calls that I'm getting and how those phone calls are either asking for prices or asking for contractors or asking for product to ship around the country. When I think about the phone calls that I am getting, I think about the economic conditions that are playing out there. There's no computer. I don't know, maybe there is some place on the computer you can go to get that information. I'm getting that from sitting at my desk and answering the phone, right? Now, when I do that, I then look at lumber sales that are happening out there, and I combine that with the understanding of what's happening within the futures price and these phone calls that I'm getting, and I'm combining all this information with the conversations that I'm having with truck drivers and mill operators and, other distribution networks, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just getting a feeling here that we might be at bottom. I don't know. I mean, if you were to ask somebody else on the internet, they'd be like, oh man, you're crazy to think we're at the bottom. We ain't nowhere near the bottom yet. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know what you're looking at, but I'm not looking, I'm feeling there's a bottom. I'm going to buy some stock. I'm going to buy some stock and a 3 times leveraged ETF that people told me I was absolutely crazy to buy because I think that we were at the bottom. And man, if I didn't nail it on that day, that's how I did it. I don't know what you're going to do. Like, I don't know what you're going to do, because if you listen to me and you bought into that nail ETF, how are you going to sell out unless you're continuously watching? You know what? I ain't going to tell you when to sell nail. I ain't going to say it. I ain't going to tell anybody when I got out of nail. I ain't going to tell anybody because I don't want anybody buying into it, and I don't want anybody selling it based on my information. I want them to do it on their own information, on their own understanding of it. Right? I don't know how many people told me that I was dangerously spreading bad information out there for people to then lose a bunch of money with. I actually got an email that said something similar to that. And and I'm thinking, I didn't tell anybody to do it. I didn't tell anybody to do it. I told them that that's what I am doing. All right? If you do it, that's your problem. All right, Craig Goss, that's it. They currently can't print it fast enough, so they won't print it anymore. It will be numbers next to your name or numbers next to the national debt. Thanks for the super chat. The path is simple. Live cheap, work hard, buy assets. Yes, thank you very much, Will. Let's get up here to that super chat. Thomas Magnum 499. Thank you so much. Love your stuff. I'm 22 and married in tech sales. Married in tech sales. Curious, what do you think is the best option for those of Generation Z to survive and build wealth? Thank you so much, Thomas. I really appreciate that. It's the same thing that I'm going to say every single time. You have to keep your expenses incredibly low, right? Keep it low. Keep your cash flow coming in. Even if you have a tech job, if you have extra time, then you got extra income that you could be going for, right? Always bring in extra, right? Extra, the money beyond the money you're already making. So for me, keeping the expenses low, keeping the extra coming, right? By keeping the extra coming, then now you can move that cash into a position that is going to have a return. Being 22 is absolutely the most amazing thing that an investor could ever possibly be in. You have to thank yourself, your lucky stars right now, that you are young and you are actually in a position in which that you can do this, because you get to take advantage of compounding interest. And my friend, man, that is the most beautiful thing that an investor could ever possibly have. And if you are 50 years old, you don't really have it. You don't have enough time to take advantage, the good, full advantage of compounding interest. Learn to position your money to has a return, even if it's small. Pull out a compounding interest calculator, start off at $100, do it at 10% interest, putting $100 a month for 40 years, right? You'll be 62 years old at the end of this. Look how much money you'll have. Increase that number, that money that you're contributing, put it up to like $500, $1,000. See if you can figure out $1,000 a month that you can put from 22 years old from now on at 10% interest for the next 40 years. You are going to be absolutely amazed by how much money you're going to have at that time. Right? And now, granted, the money may not be buying anything at the time, so you're going to have to be very, aware of what it is that's happening at the time, so that if you need to deploy that into a different direction, you can. But knowing that compounding interest is something that you have to take full advantage of at 22 years old, that is the position that I would take if I were you. Right? Now, if you were 50 years old like I am, I wouldn't say that, right? It would be a much different thing. I would definitely take advantage of returning on, capital at a percentage, dividend paying stocks or bonds or something of that nature. But if you really need something in your life that is beyond, the little bit of money that you're earning, then you're going to have to position in something that's going to do something much more risky to get much more reward from it. And at that point, it's not going to be so passive and easy. You like at 22 compound interest, that's just like, you just need to be disciplined at that point. But at 50 years old, you're going to have to be strategic. And that's much different, right? So that's my advice to you, is to keep your expenses incredibly low, keep your cash flow increasing, always look for other avenues of income, and deploy that money into a compounding interest for the next 40 years, and you're going to do awesome. All right. That's my opinion. Stay out of debt. All right. Believe you are being realist. Shadow banned. I'm sorry about that. I wouldn't doubt that I'm being shadow banned, but I don't really necessarily know why that would be the case. Like, I don't really give information that is outside of what it is that most people are talking about. Like, it's nothing that is not available out there for the internet to provide. I think the difference inside of it is like, most people are using the information in a blame game scenario, and with blame comes a feeling that is elevated. Like, it's a feeling of like excitement, fear, anxiety, right? And with this comes kind of an addiction. Like, people look for it. They like that elevated anxiety feeling, like they want to be scared. And so when you have people who are like, the government is empowering to destroy you, and this is what they're doing, or, whatever, and they just have, they focus, like, look at here and focus this blame, right? And then people can lean into that, right? They like that stuff. But when you come out and you do a video that says, listen, you're going to have to really think for yourself and internalize this for yourself because there's nobody coming to fix your problems but you. They're like, oh, screw you, dude. I'm out of here. Right. And I get that a lot. The people who are sticking around for it is because you recognize what it is that you need to do. Right. And by getting the information in the way that it comes from a working class individual who is actually trying to figure out how to do it in today's society, in today's economy, with today's conditions, and no help from really anything like a family business or inheritance or anything like that, no college education, none of those things, I give people at least some hope that they can do it for themselves too. And I think those people who are sticking to this channel, who stick to this information, they are the ones who are actually moving and progressing through life. Everybody else is hoping and wishing and dreaming and praying for something to happen. Yeah. And I really honestly believe that. That's the majority of the people. They don't want to take it they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. They want an easy answer. Like, I even talked to Sarah today, we were like, she bought a Powerball ticket, and I thought, you did? Did you want to play? Did you want to win the Powerball? And she kind of looked at me like strange, and I'm like, don't get me wrong. I mean, having all that money would be quite exciting, and thrilling, and we would have to figure out what we would do at that point. But I'm like, what is it that we need the lottery to do for us? And I'm thinking, like, if you can pay your bills on time, and you can go out there and essentially buy whatever you want, and you don't have a whole lot of stress going on in your life, like, what do you need to win the lottery for? Like, what is the lottery going to do for you other than just give you this ability to dive into mass luxuries or something like that? I mean, if you donated it all, it was like, oh, I want it. Yeah, here you guys go. You can have all that. I mean, that would be like a very noble thing to do, but it's just like, it's still, what's the point, unless you just really, truly wanted to help people out by winning this massive amount of money or something. But I think to myself, I don't know what winning the I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what winning the lottery is supposed to mean for me, right? Because I want to be on a path of growth and learning and, discovery, and stuff like that. Like, I think this channel does that for me. It gives me the ability to do research and communication and style to figure out how it is that I'm going to, conduct myself in my world. And here it is, I'm getting to pay my bills on time, and I can kind of do whatever I want, and I have a lot of freedom. And I'm thinking, man, I don't really want to mess that up. Like, I like that. That's a good thing. To me, I've already won the lottery. I don't need to win the lottery. And I don't know how many people look at it that way, but that's my reality. Like, that literally is. I mean, I even question it. I'm like, yeah, it would be cool to have all that money, but I'm like, what do we need to win the lottery for? I mean, can we not already do whatever we want? All right. That would be awesome, just to give some of your friends $500K for, yeah, right? Wouldn't it? I remember one time I was talking with a guy in, like, we all kind of work together or whatever. And he said something that I thought, I agree. I've never, like, sometimes we butt heads, as the guy and I do, but he said something that I don't think I could have agreed more with. He said, man, I would love to have a job where I just handed out money to people. Just like, here you go, here's some money. This is my job. And here you go, walking down the street, there you go, there's some money. And that's his entire job. Like, would just be to sit there and just hand money to people casually, just everywhere you go. And I thought, man, I would love that too. Like, I would think that would just be so awesome of an experience, just to walk right up and say, oh, no, man, boom, your meal's on me today, man, and just drop, or your meal's covered today. Not even on me. I don't care where the money came from, right? Boom, your meal's covered. There's $50 to cover it. Something like that, to me, it would be like, that would be the ultimate. Like, if I had a job that was something of that nature, that would just be so cool. Yeah. But I don't know how many people think that way. And, when he said it, I thought, man, you're right. That would be the best. Quick question. If I buy stocks and don't sell, do I have to pay taxes on that stock? You have to pay taxes on your gains, all right? If you sell the stock off, you're going to have a profit from it. You have to pay taxes on that profit. But no, if you don't see, this is something that they have been talking about, like wanting to charge taxes on unrealized gains. See, that's what it's called, is an unrealized gains. You got realized gains and unrealized gains, right? So the unrealized gains is when you buy Bitcoin and it goes up to a high level. That's, and you got all this gain in between, but you haven't sold it yet. That's unrealized. When you sell it, then it's realized, right? So you got unrealized gains, and they want to charge taxes on unrealized gains. And so something I had to question on this, I was like, I don't think you can do this. Like, I don't think constitutionally you can charge somebody on unrealized gains. I mean, just simply like off the fact, okay, let's say, for example, let's just start from zero, right? I'm standing on the street. I have absolutely nothing, right? And somebody hands me a Bitcoin. They say, here you go, man. Here's your Bitcoin. Of course, you can't hand it to you. They just put it in a program for me. Now it's on a computer in a wallet that I own. And now I got this Bitcoin, and it goes up to $1 million. And I haven't sold it yet. I'm just like, some dude bum on the street with a cell phone in my hand, and in a wallet that has Bitcoin in it that has now moved up to $1 million, but I haven't sold any of it. And somebody comes up and says, hey, man, you owe taxes on all that money. And I'll be like, I don't have any money. I don't work. I'm a bum on the street. I have nothing. I just have this cell phone with some value on it, but I don't have any cash, and I haven't sold it, and I can't pay you taxes unless I sell the asset. So the selling of the asset itself is forced because you owe taxes on it. Like, I don't want to sell the asset. I would pay taxes on the asset if I sold it, but I don't want to sell it. I want to keep the asset, but you can't keep it unless you can pay taxes on it. That's totally unconstitutional. That is forcing me to sell an asset that I don't want to in order to pay taxes on it on an unrealized gain that I never had any money to pay on. Okay? So I don't see how that could work. I mean, if that ends up being the case with it, then I would just get into physical items and I would do black market deals from now on. I would never, ever, ever participate in the system. Ever. Right? Just because what would be the point at that time? Because they could literally just tax you right out of your asset. Like you would never, like, I can understand the property taxes on the house and all that other stuff. But if I have a physical item here, and if it goes up in value, I have to sell the physical item in order to pay the taxes on it, then I don't get to keep the asset. All right, then what's the point of even, trying? What's the even point of even being here participating? I wouldn't. I would be like, okay, fine. I'm going to take physical items that I'm not going to tell you about, and I'm not going to tell you about when I sell them. So if it goes up, down, or sideways, it doesn't matter. You don't know. You don't know if I had them, and you don't know what I did with them. Gold and silver would be really in demand if they taxed unrealized gains. I do agree with that. If you wanted something similar, it would be 50K now. One thing rings true whether you're Trump, a Wall Street banker, or craftsman, a fast food worker, etc. Everyone must abide by time. Some have more and some have less. Time is of the essence. You're absolutely right. It's the only thing you're not going to get more of, and it's the only thing you can't buy back, right? You only got one shot at it. Right? Time is the most valuable thing in the entire world, and most people waste it. All right. Start taxing loans that are based on collateral. But, okay, so even then again, you're already paying an interest, so nobody would be, that would essentially end the financial system. All right? That would end, because then nobody would be borrowing, because you have to pay an interest and a tax. Like, the whole point of not paying taxes on it is because you're paying an interest. But if you have to pay an interest and a tax on it, you have to pay tax on the interest on the tax. It's just like, no way. And people wouldn't do it, and the whole financial system would collapse because there would be no collateral to loan. Nobody would be loaning the collateral because if you have to pay a tax on it too, yeah, it is unconstitutional. I totally agree. Trouble with life, by the time you're figured out, time is almost up. Yeah. Taxes should be banned, period. A financial system should not be based on debt slavery. I don't, well, who, well, a financial system is based on debt slavery because you have to borrow money from somebody, which puts you in debt, right? That's debt slavery. It's just like there's no, the idea that our dollar system, like here's a, I think is a problem for a lot of people who look at the dollar and say, this thing has value, right? The dollar doesn't have value. It doesn't value, like, I mean, it has value for a minute, but it doesn't hold value and it is not meant to. It's meant to do transferring of goods and services for other goods and services. So when you look at it as a currency and not as a value, then you don't think about it being debt based. You just think about it doing the instrument of transaction, and that's it. Now, when I think about when you are taking your value and you put it in dollars and then blame the government for its destruction or its failure or something of this nature, you're giving it an expectation that it will never achieve. It's like seeing the potential in somebody and then getting mad at them when they don't achieve it. See, that's one of the things like I found very interesting. I just to spin off here, a little bit, but that just to finish up with the dollar, that's essentially what it is that it's meant to do transfers of goods and services to other goods and services. And the moment that we say, no, it should be this and it should be that and it shouldn't be debt based and it shouldn't be, all these other things, you're giving it an expectation that it will never achieve and will probably just be frustrating for you as you try to figure out how it is that we can conduct a world in a different realm, right? Because this isn't the realm we live in. This idea that it should be something else. This is what it is. We got to deal with it. That's all there is to it, right? And so it's funny how I brought up the idea that its potential of what it could be, the dollar, right? It could be so much better. It could be something different, right? And by putting the expectation on this potential of what it could be, if it doesn't achieve it, you feel the failure, right? And now I find this really interesting. At first, I think my wife was a little bit insulted by the idea, but then when I explained it, I think she was actually kind of approving of the idea, right? Or at least understanding of what it is that I was saying. Because I told her the other day, I said, I don't think you ever saw my potential. Like, we've been together since we were 18 years old. And I said, I don't think you ever saw my potential. But then you never doubted my capability. Ever. She never doubted it. She never said to me, oh, you're not going to be able to pull that off. You're never going to be able to do that. The entire time, she was very encouraging. Go for it. Yeah, get it done. Make it happen. Get up on stage, right? She never saw the potential. She never said you could do this in your life. She never saw the potential. She never, ever did. Not that I can remember, right? But she never doubted that I could do it. And for that, she was never disappointed. And it's weird to think that way. It really is, because I saw so many other people who said, oh man, you could be so great at this and that and the other thing. And they saw this potential in me. And then if I didn't do it, they might have saw some failure or that I couldn't achieve what it is that I should be doing in my life. My wife never said that to me. She's never said that to me. She always said, man, yeah, you can get it done. Get up there and do that. Right? You want to go out there and do that play? You want to get up there and do the Rebel Capitalist? You want to do that YouTube channel? You can totally get that done. Right? But she never said you should. Douglas, $2. Property taxes are unrealized gains tax. Yeah, I guess they are. Yeah, you're right. I mean, in that sense, they are. They're a tax on unrealized gains because, like in I don't know on your law structures. I mean, maybe other ones are like this, but they can only increase it by so much a year. Yeah. But even still, that's over the course of many, 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 many years, it can be quite a lot. If you have to pay it back, it is not income. Borrow 100, pay 105, 100, pay back the principal, 5 pays for the time. Yeah, but if you could borrow the money and pay back 5, but then deploy that money into something that pays you 10, and you pay back 5 and keep 5, right? Paying tax. Oh, we already said that one. Okay. Salty dog, I think a little of both. What does salty dog have to say? Joe, they certainly love taxing my ETF dividends. Yeah, because you get paid. Because you actually, that's a realized gain, right? They paid you some money. Boom, there you go. And then you get taxed on that money. I know, I did, I had dividend paying stocks that did the same thing. And even if you're like, no, I just put it right back into the stock, it doesn't matter. You still have to pay taxes on the dividend, that you got paid. It's like getting a paycheck. I mean, that's essentially what a dividend payment is. It's like getting paid a paycheck for owning the stock. All right. Are we done here, guys? We're like an hour and a half into this. 188 people watching. Thank you so much for all those super chats. You guys are so awesome with the support for the channel. Especially when the algorithm doesn't have any love for the videos and doesn't want to spread it around. And it's amazing on like the hit or miss that YouTube does. And I just try to stay as consistent as possible. And with you guys and the support for the channel and everything that you have ever done, it just makes this really easy for me to just be out here regularly, to be myself, to share with you the things that I am finding and researching and coming up with throughout even my own life philosophies, which don't know why I got into, because to be honest with you, I kind of stumbled pretty heavily through life, only to just now be trying to figure it all out at 50 years old. I don't know if I'm really the person to be giving advice, but this is the experience that I've had, and I don't mind sharing it with you guys. And with that, the support that I'm getting makes this very easy for me, and I can never ever thank you guys enough for doing this for me. Okay, so in the buy, borrow, die scheme, it is income. So you borrow 20 million against your assets, keep 5 million and reinvest the 15, use profits to pay the loan. Yeah. God, who has $15 million? All right. Let's cruise up here. It also goes to road services, home inspections, and so on. All right. They certainly love tax. Oh, they already got that one. Back up to the super chat. All right. Where do we go here? Turn that. I was very disappointed. A lack of understanding. I'm learning, though. Huh. I don't know what you guys are talking about inside of that. Anyhow, I guess we probably come to the end of the live stream here, an hour and a half into it. That's pretty good. 176 people watching, 118 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. It's the easiest way to support the Uneducated Economist. By hitting that like button, you'll get the YouTube algorithm to pick up this video, spread it around for more people to join in. That always is nice for the conversation after the video gets uploaded. Also, the Cantillon essay, which I try to share with people as often as I can. There's a link down in the description to an Amazon affiliate link to the essay, but you don't have to buy the essay off of Amazon. You can get it for free at the Mises Institute. But if you click on that Amazon affiliate link and then buy whatever you want off of Amazon, just click on that affiliate link first. Anything you put in your cart for the next 24 hours and then purchase within the next 30 days, I will get a commission off of that as well. So just whatever you're buying off of Amazon, just click on that Amazon affiliate link first, and I will get a little commission on all that stuff, not just this essay. And the Patreon group, I really appreciate it. I've had a couple of people who have joined in on the Patreon, and I am very, very thankful for you guys who are very consistent on the Patreon. I am not very consistent on there, but I really appreciate the support there, and on the PayPal. Thank you very much for donating through PayPal. You guys have been so awesome. The $10 thank yous and the support for the channel, it just keeps me going, and I just love it, and I just love you guys. Thank you. Uneducated Economist, you let me know.